Hello, a very warm welcome to Middle East Matters. I'm Sanam Shantier. Coming up on this week's show, it's back to school for the children of Mosul, a city recently liberated from the Islamic State Group. But overcrowding is just one of many problems for those eager to catch up on the lost years. Dead Sea products, they've taken the market by storm, but not without damaging the environment or natural resources. Also coming up, blurred lines, why gender-neutral clothing is the new normal for one fashion label. Designer Tamar Levit joins us from Tel Aviv. We start with Mosul, where Iraqi forces have finally ended the Islamic State Group's rule. After 3 years, schools are reopening their doors to children who've been missing out on an education. But for now, another hurdle remains. Many of the institutions are underfunded and already overcrowded. Rebecca Rossman has more.
Books may have been destroyed and the windows may be shattered. But that isn't keeping students at the Treblos School for Girls in Western Mosul from staying focused, meaning summer holidays have been cancelled.
We have lived under the jihadist rule for 3 years. The Iraqi government has made an exception for us, so we don't have a vacation and instead continue classes to catch up with students outside of Mosul. Mosul residents have experienced unimaginable suffering.
While teachers were still forced to show up during Islamic State rule, the only subjects allowed were studies on Islam, Arabic, and English languages. The school switched back to its regular curriculum in late May, just as Iraqi forces closed in on recapturing the city. Now students are coming back in record numbers, leading to overcrowding at this and other schools in Mosul.
We have a problem with the high number of students. There are 80 to 90 people per classroom, even though the limit should be 25 to 30. So we have to multiply that number by 4.
Administrators and teachers still say they remain focused on the task at hand, catching up students on 3 years' worth of curriculum, in hopes this young generation, deeply scarred by a war that froze time, can finally look towards the future.
To Egypt now, where despite an increase in the number of children who suffer from psychological disorders, the society still stigmatizes mental illness. That's according to international statistics. We'll now take you to meet Qada Tosun, who has been fighting for her daughter, who has Down's syndrome, to sit end-of-year exams at her school.
Greeting her daughter outside a school south of Cairo, Ghada is bursting with pride. Logine has Down syndrome, but her mother wanted her to have a standard education. The 18-year-old sat her end-of-year exam like any other high schooler, something that took years of fighting in a country where people with mental disabilities are often marginalized and receive little assistance.
We worked hard for her to go to school, first secondary school, which was the most difficult, and I wanted her to have a middle school education too, but rules didn't allow it.
Hoda's 4-year-old son Yasin also has Down syndrome. Today they're at the City Center, a section of Catholic charity Caritas, to take part in some activities. When she gave birth, she says hospital staff advised her to isolate the baby and limit his contact with others. At City, she was taught the opposite and urged to integrate Yasin into the daily life of his family.
Some people are uncomfortable around him. If we're sitting in the metro and he's sitting on my lap and his leg touches someone else's, they move away from him and they brush off the spot that he touched. But other people tell me they know he has Down syndrome and they pat him on the back and tell me he's a blessing from God and that I should take good care of him.
Out of Egypt's population of around 93 million, an estimated 14 million have some form of disability, according to SETI. 3/4 of them have a mental disability, and the organizations helping them are few and far between.
The problem is that the services attain 2 to 3% of this whole population. So this means that most of them are staying at home, deprived of any services, although they need services since birth.
Centers like City say integration of the disabled into Egyptian society is key, but one of the biggest struggles they face is tackling ignorance around mental disability and the stigma it carries.
Now, if you're a health and beauty aficionado, you may be familiar with products from the Dead Sea, which is located between Israel, Jordan, and Palestinian territories. They're rich with unique minerals, salts, and black mud. Now, back in 2016, the market for Dead Sea cosmetics was valued at 1.17 billion euros. But what manufacturers and buyers are neglecting is the lasting environmental damage. Catherine Viet has the story.
A shimmering shade of blue and crystal clear, the Dead Sea's reputation is known far and wide. Tourists come from all over the world to enjoy the unique sensation of floating in the salty water and also to slather themselves in the mineral-rich mud.
I'm going to be a new man after this. Younger, better, faster.
It's a mud that's worth its weight in gold, as many cosmetics companies have discovered.
As I explained before, this is the raw materials. This is the mud that we bring from very near to the sea, to the water.
The raw materials are processed, filtered, and cleaned to obtain this blackish paste. The brand's chemists will then make it into creams or lotions that will be sold in shops that line the Dead Sea. Cashing in on visiting tourists is a lucrative business.
In this line, you have body lotion, hand cream, foot cream, and shower gel. And right now, at the moment, we have also shampoo and conditioner.
The products don't come cheap. This tourist will spend over 300 euros for 5 creams. And demand for cosmetics made from Dead Sea elements is on the rise. Over the next 5 years, the market is expected to grow by 15%. But can the Dead Sea, a fragile natural site, withstand the environmental impact? In addition to cosmetics manufacturing, there's also the mineral industry, with its plants extracting potash and magnesium, both which consume a lot of water.
This is very much the dark side of what used to be really a beautiful sea.
This environmentalist is worried that the waters of the Dead Sea are receding too rapidly.
With the beginnings of the mineral industries down here, and then they grew more evaporation ponds. I mean, really the industries even are kicking themselves in the foot, because soon they will have no upper Dead Sea, and eventually we'll be left with a small pond that we'll call the Dead Sea.
According to environmentalists, the mineral industry is not the only one responsible for the slow disappearance of the Dead Sea, but it is a major factor. For the past 20 years, the water has receded dramatically, leaving behind sinkholes that make access to the sea increasingly difficult. If nothing is done, experts believe this treasure could disappear by 2050, leaving nothing behind but a salty shoreline.
We end with Tel Aviv, the financial center and technology hub of Israel. The city is also home to a fashion label called the Muslin Brothers. Launched by Tamar Levit and Yaen Levi, the line is designed to blur gender identities. So there's no women's wear or menswear here. And to talk to us about this controversial product with a political message, we're joined by Tamar Levit in Tel Aviv. Tamar, thanks so much for speaking to us. How did this line come about, and what message are you trying to send by, as you say, blurring gender identities?
It came up pretty organically. It started with the both of us and another friend, and we would wear all the prototypes that we were making on the two of us. And so our first customers were also men and women alike. So for us, it was pretty obvious that if for us there is no boundaries and definition, then our clothes shouldn't have this definition as well. At the same time, we engage in not just clothes making, but also performance and installation that talk about fashion in a broader sense.
You talk about the fact that there is some kind of a message. What is that? Why did you decide to launch this line in the first place?
I think our message is more about the person and the engaged interaction with the clothes, less about definition, less about these labels that I think in garments it's always about social place or time or gender or religion, and I think for us it's a really big privilege to take clothes and just to take these elements and kind of mix them together, so it won't define necessarily the person who wears it, but the other way around. It's kind of mixing and combining these few labels and definition to one garment and one look.
Now tell me about the name, what's behind it. Also, if the clothes are indeed, as you guys say, androgynous, why Muslin Brothers? It
started when we were when we initiated the label. It was the Arab Spring time, and also in Israel there was a big social demonstration, and we were walking around everywhere, and back then it was less common to have a beard, and in Israel if you had a beard you must be either a religious Jew or a religious Arab, a religious Muslim, and so we were asked Yaen, my partner, and our friend were asked about, are you Muslim? Are you religious? So we kind of made fun of that, and we thought of taking the Muslim Brotherhood or the organization and kind of do a paraphrase about it. When muslin is a name of a fabric, is very common to the Middle East, and we use it a lot, and it's the fabric that we create the prototype with. So in a way, we are the brotherhood of the first prototype.
Now, Tamar, you're actually based in Tel Aviv, a city with a very vibrant gay scene, and of course it's also very politically charged. How has that influenced your work?
Yeah. I think it's really embedded with everything that we do, and as you mentioned, Tel Aviv is really have a vibrant gay scene. I think it leads to a lot of freedom in what you wear and how you define yourself. But at the same time, it's not all celebration, I think, in here, and still gay marriage are not possible. And so in a way, you are free to do all of this stuff, but you are all the time confronted with what you can do. So in a way, this is the tension we are playing with.
Tamar Levit, one half of the Muslin Brothers, thank you for speaking to us from Tel Aviv. Now that's it for Middle East Matters this week. Don't forget to follow us on both Facebook and Twitter. Do stay tuned to France 24.